Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another recreation episode of The Shadow, the mystery man who strikes terror into the very hearts of sharpsters, lawbreakers, and criminals. This recreation series is to continue the Shadow's demonstration to old and young alike that crime does not pay. Lamont Cranston, a man of wealth, a student of science, and master of other people's minds, devotes his life to righting wrongs, solving crimes, protecting the innocent, and punishing the guilty, using advanced methods that may ultimately become available to all law enforcement agencies. Cranston is known to the underworld as the Shadow, never seen, only heard, as haunting to superstitious minds as a ghost, as inevitable as a guilty conscience. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person to know who the invisible voice belongs. In today's drama, a would-be writer crosses the thin line beyond which fiction becomes fact and imagination a murderous reality. This is The Shadow and Death by Chapter. In his swank penthouse office, Chet Hale, editor and publisher of half a dozen crime and horror magazines, waits impatiently while Lamont Cranston and Margot Lane read the opening chapters of a handwritten manuscript. And as Cranston finishes the last page and hands it to Margot, Hale asks, "What do you make of it, Cranston?"
Badly written, but pretty frightening stuff. Where's the rest of the story?
The rest hasn't been written, and I think I can tell you why.
The handwriting seems to indicate a very disturbed personality.
More than that, Margot, this author, Alvin Kane, hasn't finished the story because he's only lived the first 3 chapters.
What makes you think so?
Look, Cranston, murder is my business. Fictional murder, that is. I've read and published thousands of murder stories, and I've come to know the difference between a fiction writer making his stuff sound like fact and a crackpot trying to make fact sound like fiction.
And you think Kane actually lived this? Started by killing those animals? The cat and the dog that annoyed and frustrated him?
Yes, Margot, and he writes about the boy he wanted to kill because he thought the boy was laughing at him.
There is a frightening progression in those events, Hal, and it reads more like a diary than a story.
That's why I wanted you to see it before I return it.
Hal, if you'd want my advice, I wouldn't return or reject that thing until you had a chance to find out more about this fellow Kane.
Why not?
Because I agree this isn't fiction but fact, and Kane is working up to killing a man. And if you reject his brainchild, you could be the material for his next chapter.
You could be right.
You deal in fiction, I deal in fact.
But I've rejected the tripe of 1,000 screwballs and cranks.
This is something more and you know it, or you wouldn't have asked me to come here and read this manuscript.
Yes, I'll admit it worries me. What do you suggest?
Hold the manuscript for a few days. I'd like to meet the author and check his neighborhood for the basis of those strangling incidents. What's the address?
10 South Street.
That's an old rooming house section.
Yes, and be careful you don't become Chapter 4.
Ugh. Number 10 South Street is one of those gloomy brownstones, Lamont.
Just the place to fit a mood for a frustrated writer, Margot.
Didn't you and Hale agree that Kane wasn't a writer, but a frustrated man?
Sometimes the two go together. Let's ring the doorbell and see.
Kane may not be home. He wrote of spending a lot of time wandering the streets with a chip on his shoulder.
Yes, but at night.
I only got 1 room vacant, and I only take in single men.
Oh, that's all right. We're not looking for a room.
If you're selling something, I don't want any.
We're not selling anything.
Yeah, if it's one of them surveys, I don't know nothing.
We're looking for a writer by the name of Alvin Kane.
I don't board no writers. The typewriters make too much noise.
This man writes in longhand, and he gave his house as an address.
Well, nobody by that name ever gets any mail here.
Are you sure?
Sure as my name is Meggs. I get all the mail that comes, and I put it on the hall table for them that rooms here.
He might live here under another name and meet the mailman outside.
If he did, I'd have heard about it. The mailman's a friend of mine, stays for a cup of coffee once in a while. What's this Kane fella look like?
We don't know. We've never seen him, Miss Meggs.
It's Mrs. Meggs. I'm a respectable widow, and I run a quiet, respectable house with nobody in it using different names. Now, what do you want with this Kane?
We'd like to talk to him about his manuscript and a couple of incidents in the story.
What kind of incidents?
A cat and a dog were killed.
I don't allow no cats or dogs in my house. You people from the SPCA?
No, it looks like we might have the wrong address.
You sure have. Good day.
Lamont, I think that woman is lying.
I'm sure she was. And I'm going to prove it. Let's go.
Go where?
To the district post office to send a letter of special delivery to Mr. Kane of this address. It should be delivered this afternoon.
$4:00. And there's the mailman, Lamont.
Taking our large yellow envelope addressed to Alvin Kane, 10 South Street.
He's ringing the doorbell.
That's why I sent the largest envelope I could find, so we could watch it delivered from a distance.
The door is opening. I wonder if Mrs. Meggs will accept it.
If she does, we'll know she was lying about Kane not living in our house.
We'll soon know. There's Mrs. Meggs at the door now.
Yes, and she's signing for the envelope.
That proves she lied. What do we do now?
Just wait here. Give her time to give it to Kane. Then pay a return call and see what she has to say.
What did you put in the envelope, Lamont?
Nothing but a blank sheet of paper that Kane can use to start his next chapter of confessions.
But not finish it, I hope.
Our job will be to prevent fiction from becoming fact.
My manuscript! He sent it back! No! There's nothing in the envelope! Nothing but a blank sheet of paper. Nothing on it. Somebody, they're making fun of me! Mrs. Meggs! Come here!
Oh, it's you, Mr. Kane. I've been waiting for you. Some strangers came asking about you.
Who came asking about me?
I don't know. A man and a woman. They didn't give their names.
What did they want?
They wanted to see you about your story writing.
My publisher! My editor! They want more!
They want to know about a cat and dog that were killed.
What did you tell them?
Nothing. I told them you didn't live here. Like you asked me on account of bill collectors and your, enemies.
Did they come before or after this envelope came?
Before. What's the matter with you? Why are you getting so excited?
It's a trick! A trap! You're helping them steal my story? My life's story!
I am not. I didn't tell them anything.
You're lying! I'll find out what you told them. I'm going to the publisher's office. I'll show them. They can't steal my story. And if I find out that you've lied to me, you'll be the next to die.
We'll return to the shadow in just a moment. But first, do you wish to voice a part in our recreation series? If so, then feel free to leave us a message on our Facebook page or upload your audition to CastingCall.club. Now, back to the shadow and death by chapter. Checking on a strange manuscript sent to a publisher of crime stories who believes the author is confessing to murder, Lamont Cranston and Margot Lane return to a rooming house whose landlady denied any knowledge of the man who may be enacting each chapter of crime.
Lamont, do you think that man with the red beard who rushed in and out of here could be our author?
It could have been, and that envelope we sent him might have started something.
I wonder if the landlady will be more cooperative this time.
Oh, it's you two again.
Yes, and this time we want to see Mr. Kane.
I told you...
You told us he didn't live here, but you accepted a special delivery envelope addressed to him at this house.
How do you know that?
Because I sent it.
And we watched you sign for it from our car parked across the street.
Who are you, and what do you want with him?
Then you admit he does live here.
I ain't saying till you tell me what you want.
I told you we want to talk to him about his manuscript.
Then he was right. You are from the place he sent his story to.
Is he the man with the red beard who just rushed in and out of the house again?
Yes, but he asked me to say he didn't live here because he didn't want some bill collectors to find him.
Did you tell him we've been here?
Yes, after he got that big yellow envelope with nothing in it. Now, why did you send it?
To prove you were lying.
I ain't gonna lie for him no more.
Why not? What happened?
He acted like a crazy man. Said you were from his publisher and you were trying to steal his story. And I was helping you.
Had he ever acted like that before?
Oh, not like that. I mean, he's always been kind of touchy and suspicious of everybody. Oh, but he's never been like that before.
Did he threaten you?
Oh, he sure did. He said if he found out I was helping you steal his story, I'd be the next to die. And I've been thinking about calling the cops before he gets back.
Back from where?
He said he was going to that editor or a publisher and showed them they couldn't steal his life story.
Good heavens, Lamont! It is a true confession. And he's gone to Hale's office.
Where's your phone, Mrs. Meggs?
There's a payphone right there on the wall at the foot of the stairs.
Do you have a dime, Lamont?
Look in your handbag, Margot. I don't have any small change.
I hope I have. But doesn't Hale leave his office at 4:30?
Yes, but he and some of the editors sometimes stay later for a story conference. Can't you find a dime or 2 nickels?
Not a one, Lamont. Oh, don't you have a private phone, Mrs. Meggs?
No, I don't. On account of my roomers would always be sneaking in and using it.
Well, go see if you could find 2 nickels or a dime.
All right. But you'll have to pay me back. This is none of my business.
It may be your life and the lives of others. Now hurry!
All right, but if you ask me, he ought to be arrested.
She's right, Lamont. He sounds really dangerous.
Granted, Margot, but he's done nothing the police could hold him for 5 minutes for.
Couldn't he be held for observation?
Not unless he blew his top of the presence of the police. We can't count on that. Hurry, Mrs. Meggs.
I'm looking.
Lamont, why don't you drive down to Hale's office? Maybe you can beat Kane there. Warn them he's coming. I'll stay here and phone if Mrs. Meggs finds some change.
That's an idea, Margot, at any rate. Wait here and get all you can out of Mrs. Meggs. And I'll call you at this number the minute I get to Hal's office.
Where is the editor, miss?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Hale has gone for the day.
Where is my story?
I'm sorry. I'm only Mr. Hale's secretary, and I don't have anything to do with the manuscript submitted to us.
I want my story. You're trying to steal it.
We don't steal stories. If yours isn't acceptable, it will be sent back to you by mail, if you sent return postage.
You sent me a yellow envelope with nothing in it.
We did not.
You sent someone to find out if my story was true.
We don't print true stories.
I want my story.
There's no one here who can give it to you.
I want my story!
I'll see if there's anyone...
No, No, you don't! You're going to tell someone to hide it.
There's no one else here. I'll go and see if I can find it on Mr. Hale's desk.
I'll go with you. Nobody's gonna steal my story.
No! Please, wait here. I'll see. What is your name?
Kane. Alvin Kane.
Oh.
You know my name! You know my story! You're trying to steal it before it's finished!
The phone. I'll have to answer it.
No! We'll get my story.
It may be Mr. Hale. He'll want to talk to you about your story. Maybe buy it.
It's a trick!
You answer it. I'll get the story for you.
No! You wait.
Please let me go.
Shut up! Hello?
Hello, is Mr. Hale's secretary there?
Who wants her?
Margot Lane, it's urgent.
What do you want?
Could I talk to his secretary? It's important.
No! She's busy.
Are you Alvin Kane?
Yes. Why?
It's about your wonderful story. We want to talk to you about buying it.
You want to buy it, Miss Lane? Printed with my name on it?
Yes,
Where are you?
at your rooming house. We've been looking for you.
Yes. You wait right there. I'll get my story and come back.
No, it's too valuable. It's locked in a safe. Mr. Hale's secretary can't get it for you, but we know all about it. We'll buy it, but we want to know what you're going to do in the next chapter.
That depends.
Come back to Mrs. Meggs. We'll talk about it.
I want to talk to the editor, Mr. Hale.
He'll be here. And tell his secretary to ask Mr. Cranston to come to Mrs. Meggs as soon as he can.
Who's Cranston?
He's our crime specialist. Have Mr. Hale's secretary tell Mr. Cranston to hurry, and we'll have a story conference.
A story conference? You wait. I'll come. You. Tell Cranston to hurry over to Mrs. Meggs.
Yes. I'll tell Mr. Cranston.
Hello? Anyone here? Good grief. Miss Reed,
Mr. Cranston.
has Kane been here?
Yes.
What happened?
He wanted to see Mr. Hale. He wanted his manuscript. I think he would have killed me if Miss Lane hadn't phoned. Talk to him.
What did she say to him?
She persuaded him to go back to Mrs. Meggs.
Oh, good grief. How?
She said she'd be there. Talk to him about buying his story. And I was to tell you to hurry to Mrs. Meggs.
Can I call outside on this phone?
Yes. It's a nightline. You can dial.
Did Kane strike you?
No. I was so frightened. When he ran out, I just fainted. I'm sorry.
Shouldn't wonder. You beat me here. Must have taken a cab. I left Miss Lane to call here. Warn you. But she must have realized you were in danger.
Yes. And she persuaded him to leave. Said Mr. Hale would be there. And you, our crime specialist, would come for a story conference.
A story conference? Come on, Margot. How's the phone? Kane must be taking another cab. How long has he been gone?
I don't know. I was too surprised and frightened to notice the time. And then I fainted.
Just a minute.
Lamont?
Margot, get out of that house and take Mrs. Meggs with you.
But Lamont!
Don't argue. Kane beat me here to Hal's office and may take a cab back to Mrs. Meggs.
Is Mr. Hale's secretary all right?
Yes, your story conference bait may have saved her life. Now get out of there and meet me at the corner. But don't let Kane see Mrs. Meggs.
Shall I call the police?
He still hasn't committed a crime they could hold him for. Get out before I have to call Commissioner Weston and report a homicide.
Tracking down a would-be author who seems to be living his crime story as he writes it, chapter by chapter. Lamont Cranston finds Margot Lane waiting for him near the rooming house where the writer lives.
Lamont! I thought you'd never get here.
Rush hour traffic held me up. Where's Mrs. Meggs?
She wouldn't leave her house. She said if Kane made any trouble, she'd beat him to a pulp and call the cops.
So she thinks he's still a harmless guy writing imaginary stories for his crimes.
She says she doesn't care what he is, and she's going to be there to get her rent out of him before anyone takes him away.
Have you seen anyone with a red beard go in number 10?
Yes, just a few minutes ago. What are we going to do?
You're going in that drugstore and phone Commissioner Weston. Tell him what we know and what we suspect.
What are you going to do?
The Shadow is going to have a story conference with that greedy landlady and Alvin Kane.
Don't lie to me, Mrs. Meggs. Just don't. That Lane woman said she'd wait for me. The editor's coming, and so is a crime specialist. And we're going to have a story conference.
She left and wanted me to go too. And don't you call me a liar. And don't you bust my furniture. And you pay the rent you owe me and get out of here.
I'll get out as soon as they bought my story. I'll live in a penthouse and have lots of money. And then, nobody will laugh at me.
I'll start laughing as soon as I get my back rent.
You'll be sorry if you do.
I'm sorry I even let you get a week behind. And you'll pay me now or I'll go up and lock your room so you can't skip with that junk you call clothes. You deadbeat.
Don't you dare call me a deadbeat or you'll... That's my editor. Perhaps his associate. The crime specialist.
And maybe a psychiatrist.
Send them up to my room. I'll receive them in my den.
Oh, then it is. Well, you'll be laughing like a hyena or a mad dog baying at the moon. All right. Quit wearing out my bell. I'm coming. What are you... Oh, them kids again. Ringing and running and hiding. Keep away from my bell, you little brats. Come back and I'll take a broom to you.
Come back to your house, Mrs. Meggs. No children rang your bell.
Huh? Who said that?
The shadow, Mrs. Meggs.
How'd you get into my house?
Through this open door.
Where are you? Who closed my door? I don't see nobody.
No one sees the shadow, Mrs. Meggs, for I have the power to cloud your greedy mind. So listen carefully for what I have to say.
I'm listening. What do you want?
I want to know if your roommate Alvin Kane is still in this house.
Yeah, he just run up to his room, thinking you was his editor.
What room?
The top floor, rear. Cheapest room I got, and he ain't paid up for that.
You'll be paid, Mrs. Meggs.
Yeah, that's what he said, when I just told him to pay up and get out.
You're lucky you didn't pay with your life. Now get out of this house, Mrs. Meggs. Leave Alvin Kane to the shadow.
I won't. You ain't real. I'm just hearing things. Talking to myself like crazy.
No, to the shadow.
Ah! Something touched me. Oh, but there's nobody. Oh, nobody will believe me. I'm getting out of this house. It's haunted.
I must be ready. I must think what to tell them about my next chapter. What am I going to do? As if I'd already done it. Why don't they come? If that Mrs. Meggs sent them away, I'll kill her. That's it. My next chapter. Meggs, the greedy old... Yes, just a moment. Come in, gentlemen. You must pardon my poor artist's quarters, but genius
is often close to madness, Kane.
Who knocked, spoke, laughed.
It's too late to lock your door against the shadow.
Shadow?
Don't bother look around your room, Kane. No man sees the shadow.
Why are you here?
I have come to your story conference, Kane.
My story conference? You want to buy my story?
I want to hear your story. The next chapter. What do you plan to do?
I know what's going to happen. More exciting things than in the beginning.
What kind of things?
At first, only little things died.
A cat? A dog?
Yes.
Did you really kill them?
Yes.
Why?
They belong next door. They barked and they yowled and they kept me awake all night. I caught them, killed them. They're the ones who started it.
Are you going to kill any more cats and dogs, Kane?
No, that isn't exciting enough for a story. Now, people, they only get a thrill out of reading about people killing people.
Have you selected your victim?
Yes, Mrs. Meggs, my landlady.
Why?
She's a greedy old woman, and she laughs at me.
Is that reason enough to kill someone, even in a story?
It doesn't matter. It's my story, and I can make it happen.
How? Mrs. Meggs is a powerful woman. She could throw you out of this house.
No, she can't. I have something that'll shut her mouth. Make her quit laughing at me.
Where did you get that gun, Kane?
I bought it in a pawn shop.
Do you have a permit for it?
No, and it doesn't matter.
It will matter to the police when they come and find you with that gun in your possession, Kane.
They won't find me. I'll kill Meggs and get away and hide.
The police would find you.
I'd kill the police and get away, and there'd be more chapters.
No, Kane. This is the last chapter, entitled Alvin Kane Meets the Shadow.
I'll kill you, Shadow, if you try to stop me.
No, you don't!
Nobody will stop me!
You'll only leave this room in a straitjacket. The police and psychiatrists will write the remaining chapters of your life.
You know, Lamont, even with Kane arrested for illegal possession of that gun and held for observation, this case worries me.
Why, Margot?
I have quite a lot of friends and acquaintances who are crime writers, and they all want you to read their stuff. But most of them are rather touchy about criticism.
Most of them are milquetoasts who wouldn't actually kill a fly.
But suppose I catch one of them sticking pins in flies?
Then you better watch them carefully.
Good heavens! I know one that's well on the way.
How so?
He collects butterflies and sticks them on a board with pins.
This story is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. The characters, names, places, and plot fictitious. Any similarities to Living or Dead are purely coincidental. Again, next month, the Shadow will continue to demonstrate that...
The rate of crime bears its bitter fruit, for crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.